Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Okay, so this evening we have the opportunity to come and do our lunar observance night, puja, here at Sandra's new place, and there's a it's new and different, but it's the same. And of course, this is a new and different place for Sandra, but it's the same. In the sense it's a place to four walls, roof over the head, place to lodging for the night. This is in terms of reflection on requisites. Reflecting on the as a requisite, because it's something we depend on, rely on, but as is very starkly apparent, particularly to Sandra. Requisites can be impermanent and change very quickly, and that's the reality, of course, is, say, 2 years ago, exactly. If it were exactly 2 years ago today, then it would have been, you'd have been in your old house, forest all around, and but it changed. But here it is, new and different. But where the rhythms and the things that make it, where's the continuity? And of course, I think one of the continuities is sort of sitting behind me. It's Buddha on the shrine, and this is basically, that was the one thing that was left, wasn't it? That's about we came back here after the fires, and it was the foundation was here, but everything had gone. But then the Buddha was still here, survived the fires, which was nothing short of miraculous, and on a certain level, that's this is what actually does survive, is this quality of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And these are the refuges that we take, and then even if say whatever was destroyed in the fire, if it was destroyed in the fire, the Buddha is not necessarily the I mean, it's wonderful that physical Buddha image that we have here survived, but also the what has the possibility of surviving, creating continuity for us is the Buddha inside, the one who knows inside the refuge within the heart, and that is something that we have to be maintaining and looking after for ourselves. And or as we even like when you say with the Dhamma where we chant here, like the Dhamma is to be seen for each wise person for themselves. It's these are principles of truth that we all have the opportunity to experience, to see for ourselves, and to allow to be a refuge for us. And so this is something to be contemplating, and then to be recognizing that so we've got this. Sandra's got a new house, but she's got an old refuge, and that there's a continuity there, and for ourselves as well. Things can change. We can go to a different place, or things will be different, but where do we find the continuity? Where do we find that thread of something that is familiar and settled within the heart? So that's an exploration that we can be attending to, and realizing that all sorts of things can change, can be taken away from us, but we still have a refuge. One of the things that comes to mind is just say like Ajahn Chah. His health completely failed him in the end, body completely kind of disintegrating on him, and one had the sense of him being fine with that, and that was I remember one time this monk who was well known for his meditative attainments and psychic powers, and going to visit Ajahn Chah. I was in there probably about a year or so in after his losing his ability to his motor capabilities and his speech, and anyway he went and visited and sat meditation next to Ajahn Chah, and after his visit he was staying at Wat Nana Chat at the time, and then said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about Ajahn Chah. His body may be not working properly, but his mind is extremely bright and radiant, and said, if you're going to worry about anything, worry about yourselves. And that, that was quite true all the way through. So that, in a sense of we need to be making sure that we have our refuges within the heart, and of course as Sandra said, when it was at even thanking the community, but also recognizing that refuge that's been the foundation that Sandra's been relying on this time, and it's a wonderful example for all of us, and so that we say we also have a refuge available to us. It's just that we have to be attending to it and paying attention. It's like that sense of attention. It's like we have the it's like the Devadutas are pointing out, these heavenly messengers are coming to point out the things that are worthy of concern, alarm, aging, sickness, death. These are what the Buddha calls heavenly messengers. And oftentimes we see them as something that is either frightening, disturbing, creates a sense of insecurity or dismay. But the Buddha says they're heavenly messengers because they're pointing us to the reality that there is something beyond. There's something that isn't the whole picture. And there are these refuges of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. There are the qualities of the Brahma Viharas, these divine abidings that we can rely on for the heart, loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity. These are places of brightness and clarity, and insight and understanding. Is not necessary. It's not dependent on external conditions. It's the willingness of the heart to draw close to truth, to rely on Dhamma, and to relinquish that wavering of heart, the grasping after. We'll grasp after anything, really, just to get past some discomfort, but realizing that that's pretty temporary, and we do have this Dhamma which is always available for us, this truth that is always accessible. So in the chant, that apparent here and now, timeless. This is the nature of the Dhamma, so it's always accessible. And it's something that when we do allow the heart to truly rely on that, to truly take refuge, then there is an unshakable quality within the heart that we can all access. that's a thing of wonder when the heart is settled, the mind is steady and clear, and there's a sense of this is amazing, this is wonderful, that this is possible, it's something to delight in. So that returning to these fundamental refuges, on a certain level, it's sort of Buddhism 101, but there's not many people that are really firm and steady and, say, unshakable. It's one of the, and there are these there's all sorts of benefits in the and place things that we wholesome foundations of well-being and ease that we say that it's like in the Buddha is saying, it's not just for the benefits and of say that arise from keeping sila and keeping virtue, keeping integrity. I mean, this is something which is the Buddha points to, like say the fruits of the fruits of the spiritual practice. These are tangible fruits where one experience and benefits that arise, sense of well-being and happiness that come through generosity, through integrity, virtue, from meditation, meditative stillness, and kind of brightness of mind, of samadhi, the happiness and kind of it's kind of an exhilaration that comes through insight. But the Buddha says it's not just for that. He said, but it's for the unshakable deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of heart. And this is something to. It's like it's really important to entertain this as a possibility within our practice, as within the when we are setting, and we should always set our goals of, in terms of I need to cultivate generosity, I need kindness, and assiduous with the precepts and the development of the calmness and stillness of the heart, and really cultivate that reflective discernment. But all of that has a purpose as well, and it's to this unshakable deliverance of mind. So it's not, and realizing that's as we cultivate this path, it's like in many, of course, I mean, it comes up so often that we, say just the Eightfold Path as the path leading to the cessation of suffering, and that I mean, it's very clear. The Buddha teaches it over and over again. But then he also, from time to time, he teaches about the tenfold path. So which is sort of the eightfold path, but then extending it to right knowledge and right liberation, and so that to the sense of this path of the beginning with, say, the right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right. But then it leads into and is a basis for that right knowledge, that seeing things in their true nature, and the right liberation, where the heart is rightly released from its obsessions, and it's the things that keep it shaking, quavering, wavering, and there is this unshakable deliverance of mind that is possible, and this is it's just is an if we don't conceive of it, we don't open up the possibility of receiving it or experiencing it. Because it's one. So often it's like often like in the English idiom. If I hadn't seen it for myself, I wouldn't believe it. But on a certain level, it's the other way around. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't see it, and it happens on a mundane level, because we actually filter out a huge amount of our conscious experience. Otherwise, and there's a necessary part of that in the sense that the brain just goes into overwhelm if you're trying to take in everything. So we're filtering all sorts of experiences and things, and what's happening around us, or what's happening in our own mind, and but we do that as well. We filter what is possible for ourselves as well, and because we think it's not possible. We don't think it is this, or it shouldn't be, couldn't be. There's all sorts of just like scientific discoveries that are people don't experience it, see it, discover it, because they think it's not possible. And then, but somebody comes along and then they think differently, and they experience, they realize. It's like just the idea that a virus can cause cancer. That was completely dismissed, and when people first started submitting, say, scientific papers presenting that as a possibility, and they still didn't have really clear data. Basically the whole scientific community dismissed it, and it was relegated to these couple cranks who were I mean, they were obviously deranged. They weren't real scientists, but then of course time passes. They continue to do the research, and then they come across clear data that is in fact a reality, and it's just, and they because they believed it, and they could, which doesn't mean there needs to be some parameters on that. You want to be believing in something that is actually accords with truth, accords with reality. It's not just because you believe in unicorns doesn't make them come into being. But they're that sense of really being open to what does it mean to be the way things are? What does it mean to be free from suffering? What does it mean to be? The Buddha says it's possible. Do we actually believe it? They say the great Kruba Ajahns, they say it's possible, but do we believe it? And do we live accordingly to be able to see that for ourselves? So those are really, they're interesting questions to see, because the reality is we wouldn't be practicing if we didn't if we weren't inspired by that or had confidence in it. But there is a sense of how we apply our minds in order to sustain that and penetrate that. Or what are we holding back? So just to be able to encourage ourselves, and realize, there is say the fruits of this refuge constantly available. It's been 2,600 years since the Buddha first started teaching, and I don't think that truth actually changes. Of course, conditions in the world change, but the nature of things doesn't really change. The various conditions and language expression, all of that changes, but that fundamental experience of truth, doesn't really change. I remember Ajahn talking about the nature of the Dhamma, and being, it's just something that we talk about, or we express it, or we hear it, and And it's all through language. And we can confuse ourselves with all the language, expression, the talking about it, and it's so necessary to experience it for ourselves. And so it's like you can just a sip of water has whatever. There's a myriad ways of different languages to express that or to describe that. But it doesn't matter how many languages you can translate it into. All it takes is just one sip of water to know that the refreshing quality of that, the sustaining nature of that simple thing, water, so that this path of practice that the Buddha has given us, to make much of it, like that, to give ourselves to that practice, to give ourselves to the training, because that's what allows us to really taste that, or to experience that for ourselves. Just to encourage us all, whether we're at the monastery, outside the monastery, whether conditions are stable or whether conditions are sort of up in the air for some reason or other, but you keep returning to the Dhamma, and then you've got a refuge. So that, say, Sandra has been. She used to be here, practicing diligently, coming up to the monastery, and then one night it wasn't here anymore. The fire destroyed the whole house. Then lost everything. But time has passed. The house is here. You've got a new place for a new beginning, but you're plugging into the old refuge just the same, plugging into these same truths. It's the same, and it's wonderful to see the space finally sort of manifest, and for you to be back here, furniture's here, and refuge is in the same place. And just keep holding that refuge, and I'm sure that even having the house with your furniture, there's still going to be some frustrations and difficulties and setbacks of some sort, but you've been through so much already that I'm sure that that's not going to shake you a whole lot, and over and over you've gained or been able to keep turning to this refuge, and it's always there for you. To offer that for reflection this evening.